Since it's 1:30 on October 13, 2025, I call this meeting to order. Deidre, can we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Hurt,
Here.
Hildred,
Here.
Bentley,
Here.
and Maji is excused.
Are there any suggested changes or corrections to the minutes from the meeting on September 13, 2025?
No.
There being none, I'll say that they are approved. And we have member forum.
Yes, we have one member form speaker here, and so I'll go ahead and read the contract for that. Members are welcome to speak during the designated member forum at Ross Forum, Walnut Creek. Board and committee meetings, either in person or via Zoom. Speakers are limited to 2 minutes and must speak clearly. Their full name and Ross Forum address before beginning. If speaking on behalf of another member, a signed consent form is required. To speak, members must submit a member's forum slip prior to the start of the forum. Instructions and slips are available at meeting entrances. The RWC board office and online. Please be advised that meetings are broadcast and recorded by attending and participating, including during the open forum. Attendees agree to and release RWC from all liability for their voice and or likeness being recorded and broadcast for any lawful purposes without compensation. Can you please state your full name and your Rossville address?
Tom Debley, 3324 Ptarmigan Drive, number 3C. And I'm here today to request that the policy committee consider drafting a policy with regard to flying the American flag. I'm familiar with this because where I've worked previously, we had flag policies. My reason is because of the recent episode with the lowering of the flag at half-staff. Under all the rules and regulations of flags, the president orders flags lowered at federal facilities only. Everybody else who follows suit, other than states, it's done voluntarily. States order the flags by the governor. What we saw happen recently was confusion over the flag flying at half-staff for a civilian. Civilians are not on the list. On rare occasions in the past, presidents have, in extraordinary circumstances, ordered a flag lowered for a civilian. I think what we're seeing now at the time we're rolling out a brand strategy is an episode where a civilian partisan. So I would recommend we look at a flag policy and perhaps have only lower the flag when it's somebody who's on the designated list. That if we're going to have whatever political party done on a partisan basis, it creates confusion, and I think that hurts us in terms of how we're trying to represent ourselves with our brand and in our marketing, because it inadvertently causes us to be perceived as partisan. But I think it would be interesting to look at other policies and consider drafting a policy for Rossmore. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Are there any other member?
That concludes our member forum.
Thank you very much. The chair has no report, so let's move on to unfinished business. And Jeff, can you start with your report?
Okay, so we have 3 policies for this next item. This is bringing these back to you for review. We did make a few edits based on your last and have some corrected information. The first one, policy 100, really has to do with how we conduct a hearing, the policy enforcement notification. We try and be consistent with how mutuals conduct their hearings and are required to do so under Davis Sterling. So it talks about those different items. There really isn't any changes to this one since your last go around. Policy 101.1, there was a few questions last time, and that had to do with the number of days. So we had at least 10 business days prior, and we reviewed that with legal counsel, and the statute only requires 10 days. So we recommend sticking with the statute to do at least 10 days prior. So we can exceed that, but to be consistent with the statute, it would be at least 10 days. And then again, this one is written in a fashion so it is compliant with the Davis-Sterling Act, which then gives us consistency with what the each rules are doing. Policy 101.4 or 104.5, excuse me, is a harassment policy. This last time we introduced it, there were some questions about should we include the section that has to do with Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, and we ran that by our legal counsel because RWC doesn't actually have any housing, so the question was, should that be included within this? And according to counsel, because we provide services specifically to HOAs, that he felt that that section was pertinent and should be included. Also, last time, Leanne asked about a social media clause. If that is something that should be addressed in here as well. So there is a paragraph that is included to address harassment and bullying via social media platforms. So that's added into this section. Yes.
I have a question, and this incident occurred, so it'll be interesting. Under those things that can be considered as harassment based on the list of things that have to do with HUD, there is a comment about yelling or insults, personal insults or yelling. And the incident I'm referring to was a woman came to me and said, I have been harassed because that person called me a silly old woman. Okay, and anyway, the question was, she interpreted that as an insult. No action was required, it happened at a mutual. But is there a definition from our legal counsel about what constitutes a personal insult?
There is, and it is a repeated offense. So it's not like if you just had one interaction and somebody said you're silly, blah, blah, blah. It is repeated and results in harm to the person. I don't have the exact language, but yes, there is so it lists personal insults and yelling, but it is meant to be repeated behavior rather than just one-off.
Is there any definition of what constitutes an insult, or is it completely personally interpretive?
Well, I mean, it has to kind of fit within these characters. And here's the harassment may arise from a course of repeated conduct or incidents which by themselves might not seem serious or unreasonable until examined as a whole course of conduct, or may arise from even a single serious, unreasonable, and hostile incident.
I'm just curious because of we went over this and then this happened and I thought, oh, you know.
This policy applies to harassment, bullying, or abusive conduct on social media. Oh, that's the
Social media part.
So I mean, it's not intended to be, I don't want to say petty, but brief interactions where there might be a disagreement. It is meant to be where there's repetitive, kind of hostile, bullying type behavior. Now, one incident of extreme measure could certainly qualify, but it's more that ongoing.
If a person came and said, I have been basically insulted, what is the best way, or harassed because I was insulted? How should that incident be reported?
So they should report it to the to staff and then to the general manager or to our HR department, and they would then review the incident with appropriate people.
Thank you.
I had a question on 100, policy 100. And we had talked about this at the last meeting too. So about clarifying the member and the resident, the difference. So I see that on item 3, we've included invite the member or resident to a hearing, blah, 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 blah. But should we assume that the other mentions of member, there's a couple of others here in the policy, would pertain to member or resident?
It would, because you have people that could be residing here that aren't members.
Right, yeah.
So it should apply to both member and or resident.
Does that need to be called out?
Where else are you seeing this?
Well, when you look in the first paragraph, third line, there's an initial letter to the member. And then the 6th line, correspondence to the member. And then at the very bottom, there's also a reference to member. So I think my question is, do we need to say member or resident in each of those instances? I don't know. I mean, maybe we don't have to, but if we do, we have cited it in number 3 here. So I think we had, when we were talking about it at the last meeting, I think we wanted to make sure that people understood this included members and residents.
Yeah, I think it wouldn't hurt to put with each of those references
Right.
or resident.
Okay,
So we can make
okay,
that.
good.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Yes.
So these policies apply to member residents and staff and members residents too, right? It all applies to
Yes,
everybody.
yeah.
Okay. I assume it's in there, I'm not looking at it.
And we have separate policies for staff that would kind of govern outside of this as well.
So do you need a motion on that, Mary, on this item?
Was there something you were gonna check on first?
I'll add or resident
Okay.
for those, but other than that, if you're ready to send these to the board, we would need a
For first
motion
reading.
to send policy 100, 101.1, and 104.5 to the board with the minor revisions as discussed.
And that would be for a first read.
Right, correct.
Correct.
Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Sure, I'll second.
Can we have a vote count?
Yes, Hurt,
Yes.
Hildreth,
Yes,
Bentley,
Yes.
the vote is unanimous.
So this next item, item B, is really a housekeeping item, more or less. In all of our amenities, we have rules and procedures that guide the use of that amenity, and they each have language slightly different in what happens if you violate a rule, policy, or procedure. We will make all of those uniform to reflect that it would be subject to policy 100. The procedure is outlined in there. So what we're looking for is just a recommendation that all of our amenity use policies, procedures, and rules be amended to have a consistent statement that violation of any rules would be subject to policy 100.
Do we have any questions on this? Okay. Now, this is not a policy, this is a recommendation.
So this is a recommendation that all of those policies that have to do with, the fitness center rules, the pool rules, golf course rules, that all of those be amended to have the same clause in terms of violation of those rules.
Now, is that list inclusive, for instance, bocce, bowling? I mean, do we need to call out, or is there
No,
a
you don't
term we
need
can
to,
use?
you don't need to call out, any of the facility rules, policies, or procedures that reference violation. What happens in a violation would have the same common.
You're using the word facilities, which could be fine, but what about amenities too? I mean, in other words, is there a word that's inclusive of everything? I'm just questioning.
You can say all amenity
And
use
facilities.
rules.
Okay. We don't want to inadvertently exclude something.
You could say, consider an amendment to all facility and amenity use rules to reference policy 100.
Any more discussion or questions on that? And this is made as a recommendation,
To the board, yeah.
and the board will then recommend it and approve it, correct?
And does this require the 2 readings, or is
We
this?
still do the
do the-
2 readings,
okay.
because it would run in conjunction. with
Okay.
policy 100.
Okay. Is there a motion that we do this and for the board, that we do this to recommend to the board?
I can move that we recommend to the board that we recommend these amendments to all facility and amenity use rules in blah, 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 to reference policy 100 as amended related to violation of rules.
Is there a second?
second.
Any additional, any discussion? Can we have a vote, please?
Hurd,
Yes,
Hildreth,
Yes,
Bentley,
Yes.
the vote's unanimous.
thank you. Okay, under new business, we have the review of club membership residency requirements. Would you like to discuss this?
So at the last board meeting, the board received a request for a waiver to the requirement in policy 302 that a club, a recognized club, have no more than 20% non-resident members. This was received from the Rotary Club. And in policy 302, you see that there's a list of conditions for a club to be recognized. And as a recognized club, they receive certain benefits, especially use of RWC amenities at no or reduced fees. So the board, after discussing this, asked it to come back to policy, really to discuss, is there something that should be considered in terms of a waiver of any conditions? Is there a fee that goes with the waiver? Is there limitations? Is it short term? What triggers a approval or condition where a waiver may be granted? Currently within the policy, there is no option for waivers if a club happens to want to ask that. I will say that our intent is to bring back the facility use policies along with kind of the club formation policies in the near future, because there's many different aspects items that need to be considered in reviewing these. So it may be a little preliminary to consider that, but yet we have a pending request for a waiver. So you can take this in a lot of different directions. You can discuss potential criteria for a waiver. You can postpone this. You can talk about Rotary's request specifically. But overall, I would say that we want to bring back to you pretty much all of the policies to deal with guest use, the club procedures, and use of RWC facilities in the near future.
As a point of interest here, Jeff, how frequently have people made a request to basically expand this?
So we've received a few requests, one previously from Rotary that the requirement that a resident be the president and vice president. They wanted to have somebody that wasn't a resident be the president of the club, and that was granted when it was requested.
I'm sorry, it was?
It was, yeah. I don't think we have received any requests that a club be able to exceed the 20% rule. It's not to my recollection that we had one of those requests.
Can you clarify why that waiver was accepted, and is that still happening with that club?
The current president is a resident. The Rotary is a significant business kind of based club. I think they, at the time, their request was because they had somebody that had interest, and they do somewhat of a rotating thing. So it worked out for them at the time that their best option for a president happened to not be a resident. But in general, that hasn't been a concern.
So could I just comment in terms of the broader review, Jeff, that you're mentioning? I've had a couple of people who have similar situations where they exceed the 20% norm, rule, protocol, and these clubs have mentioned that they would be willing to pay an incrementally larger amount to use the facilities. So in terms of that broader review, could we also consider some changes to the fees that we're charging?
Yeah, there's a lot of different methodology that we can go about to kind of tackle this. As we discuss it, I'll tell you, you want to make it as tight as possible, because there's always people that find the loophole, the exception. So what a lot of clubs have done when they exceed that 20% rule is they don't list them as members, they're just guests. Just a guest that shows up to everything. So an ongoing guest. So there's kind of always a workaround. We want to try and craft whatever exceptions we make or modifications, so there's limited workarounds.
How would we go about setting up the process to do a complete review?
So we're hoping to start bringing this to you somewhat in a measured method in probably early 26. So maybe February timeframe.
And I think from my perspective, the most important thing is that whatever we do to change here, we have to consider who we say no to and how we say no.
Hasn't there been discussions in the past about too many guests? And what like the fitness center did is they started charging people, you know. I don't know, I think this topic has been coming around in the past and in the future, and I hear it in the clubs. And there's kind of like two sides to it, right? Like a lot of members don't want more guests here. They feel like we pay for this, we, you know, et cetera. And then there's clubs who want more people. Like they want to be the Bay Area hub for whatever club they have. And this has been discussed in the past, I'm sure, right?
Nothing is new in Rossmore. You can attest to that, right?
Yeah, I'm sure you can.
These topics come around periodically. Guest use was a very hot topic 2017, 2018 when the fitness center was reopened. So it's always kind of, as you said, there's two sides to the coin. It's having guests create a vibrant place where you're bringing people to share the experience that you're paying for. On the other hand, some people view that, well, we're paying for it, we don't want others to take advantage or be able to, you know, take up space that I might be able to use. So at the fitness center, it was, you could bring a guest. I think it was, you get 10 guest passes a year, and then beyond that, there's a nominal fee per visit. So there's options like that to find a middle ground. definitely very strong opinions. The family swim time is always contentious. Whether it is something that is beneficial, you can take your grandkids and family there and no, you wouldn't use the pool otherwise, but to watch them utilize it, and has great value. Others are saying, that's my lap swim time, and shouldn't have others outside, so.
Who will be on your task force to review all this?
That'll be this committee here will be
Yeah.
talking about, these various policies. I don't know that we're looking to rewrite the policies, but there are some items that we need to get clarified, especially within the reservation and club formation.
One of the comments I've heard about the adding more than the 20% or having the guests is that the cost of having a meeting here is so much less than
Right.
in most aspects
Right.
of Walnut Creek.
Mhm.
That the idea being that you can have your club in Rossmore and save the club money compared to having the meetings out of here. So that's one of the aspects that motivates people to want to increase non-resident membership. It's just one of the aspects we'll have to look at.
And I'd just like to also comment that a club with this situation who has checked out the external meeting room costs has said to me, I would be willing to pay an incrementally higher rate than I'm currently charged to continue to meet in Rossmore. But I think the challenge is, as Jeff was saying, how can we determine something that's readily applicable? And, the situation with the Rotary coming to us for their request, I mean, the Rotary is a great organization. And, it's hard to say no, but then there could be some other group that would come and you would be like, well, no, we don't want to help you out. So we have to have a very equitable
consistent.
approach.
It has to be not on who it is,
Yeah.
but the how do we do
Yeah,
it
we don't,
regardless.
and that's the thing, I don't want us to be determining the merits of any of these organizations. But on the other hand, if we would like to increase some revenue, it might be an opportunity for us to do that if these groups were paying a higher charge than the standard clubs.
Well, the other thing is what Jeff just said that really matters to me is if we allow more guests, and we'll call them that temporarily, are we using up space that smaller clubs might no longer have access to, which would, to me, be a problem.
Yeah.
So what do we do now?
So I don't think that Rotary is in a real pinch to have this approved. I think they're in compliance right now and will continue. So I don't think you need to take immediate action to address their concern. But it was referred to from the board, so I think this is an item we recommend. We kind of roll into that group of policies that will be reviewed here in the coming months.
Okay.
So no action.
So this policy is, which we're going over right now, is gonna be further reviewed as to what we're not looking for any kind of decision or anything
Not
right now?
today. I think, just some of your discussion about, some possible exceptions. But it'll be more beneficial to look at it in context of package of policies rather than.
And again, from what Susan said, so that we're looking at it because of clubs, not Rotary.
Yeah, or not the nature of the activity, more how does it fit in our use of resources and amenities, and also making spaces available to resident club members, which is our first priority, I would think. So.
So we don't need to take an action here?
No.
Okay. Do you have any idea when basically we'll start the review process or
I think
how we will
we'll
start it?
start bringing these to you hopefully in February.
Okay. And then some of the data that would be very, very interesting is how many clubs actually show outside membership of 20%. And how many clubs are there and
Yeah,
how many have?
we'll have all of that for the data that we have.
Okay. All right.
So in the last revision on this, regular revision was done in 2014. So when we go through this, we'd look at the whole thing, like in number 3, we have other let's see where I'm at on number 3. A3, we list a whole bunch of stuff, but we have other things that are amenities that are not listed. Is it just, it doesn't say et cetera or anything like that, but we have like the garden area, and we also have pickleball. That is a substantial number of people that are involved in that are not. Do we have to look at this for anything that gaps that we're missing since 2014?
Yeah, we'll probably want to
Yeah.
update, make sure we capture different amenities that you want to put in different categories. If they're subject to that particular rule.
Very good point.
I have a clarifying question. Clubs can also decide, we only want 10% of our members to be outside, right? I mean, that's the cap, 20 is the cap. But certain clubs have no outsiders, like ceramics, because they need their space for their actual residents.
So clubs that utilize kind of a fixed amenity, so tennis, bocce, lawn bowling, they're supposed to have 100% resident membership.
Oh,
Ones that are use clubhouses for different social events, they can have an 80-20 breakdown. But many, like you said, many have no guest or outside membership at all. Just depends.
Okay, so then in February, we can expect more data, more understanding of this, and we can work toward revising the policy.
Yeah.
Thank you. And finally, is there any other discussion on this issue? Then let's move on to B. The charter for the KPI task force.
So we're looking to start a new task force focused on the development of KPI metrics that will be used to kind of measure the overall performance of a number of our programs and services and use of our amenities. This is really on the community services side of the house, not the RPM side of the house. And so this task force would consist of up to 3 board members, 1 member from the finance committee, and 2 members from board resident advisory committees, which would be optional. There'll be a staff liaison assigned to the committee as well. They will meet on a monthly basis beginning in November. And this is really intended to be very consistent with the goal adopted by the board. And it'll have the first task of evaluate and determine desired outcomes. So why are we measuring things? What do we hope to do with the information? Identify and recommend tools and methods for data collection, oversee the initiation of data collection, and develop a reporting framework. So are we going to do a report annually, quarterly, monthly, and to whom? Is this to the committees, to the board? What format do we want this to be in? And how will it play into future decisions related to the annual budget? So the task force will begin meeting again, as I said, this November and run for, I think, a 6-month term. We're looking for a recommendation on the charter, which is attached to the document.
Well,
go ahead. Did you have a question, Ted?
No, go ahead.
Ted? Oh, so is this going to be reviewed by any other committees?
No, it goes from your committee to the board.
Okay. I think I had more comments. I think the charter is reasonable. As I understand it, we have some interns. Do we need to determine what their role is or state what their role
It doesn't
would be?
need to be within the charter, but we do have some fellows from the.
Fellows, okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
We have 2 that have been assigned from the Berkeley possibly business.
So I think that the comment that I would make, and I don't mean to quibble with anything here, but it's my thought that, because we're doing this for a period of 6 months or so to get started, that's helpful. I could see that we might identify some KPIs that we are not ready to try to take on this year and we might want to do in the future. And I also think it's going to be an iterative process, but that'll be worked out by the task force between what we want to measure and also what we can measure. And there may be things that we could, I don't mean to just do low hanging fruit, but there may be some things that we can measure through, through NetSuite or other means that we would like to try to do. And then some things that might be more critical and take more time. So I think what we're saying here is fine. And we also have the ability to extend after April 26th, this task force or this work. So my concern I'm expressing is that I see this as an effort that might take some time and extend beyond just 1 year. And I wouldn't want the charter to limit us to just 1 year.
I think as you mentioned, there might be things that that the committee identifies that is future thinking and may be more dependent on the tools that we have to collect it at the time. So it could be something that the committee identifies as a long-term interest.
Well, I think just like the task force on the marketing of Rockmore, this will be a very learning experience about what can legitimately be measured in an objective manner versus a subjective manner. And I think that will be a very interesting information to be determined so that we don't go around measuring things that are more based in subjective than objective means. So I think it's well worthwhile to start this with the people who understand those basics.
And the marketing task force has been called back 2 other times
That's right.
because of ongoing, what we did discover in ongoing situations. And I think that this is going to be the same thing. It's going to have to come back because of ongoing stuff that we'll find.
One question, it was noted, you mentioned, Jeff, that the 2 members from board resident advisory committees might be optional. How does the board chair, who makes the determination whether they're optional or not?
So I think that's really intended whether or not they find somebody that is interested, that they feel is qualified to be part of the committee. And that would be up to the board president.
And then this is just a small thing. The task force shall follow policy 201.4 regarding open committee meetings and provide a resident forum at each meeting. Is the task force providing resident forums or member forums? I mean, did you, if you said resident, that has a specific meaning.
Yeah, as
And
opposed to
member
member.
has a specific meaning, so
As opposed to member.
just wanted to clarify that.
I think it would be member.
Yeah, so
Should be
that's a little bit, almost at the end, just before Robert's rules.
Right above where it says the purpose and
Right above purpose
responsibilities.
and
It's 2 lines above the purpose and responsibilities.
Okay, well,
Okay. Yeah.
make that one adjustment.
I think, okay, in my opinion, this is a good place to start since this is one of our goals. And we're not going to be putting in play anything until we have the evidence of the group as to what can be measured, how it's to be measured, how it's to be reported, and how it's to be used. So I think it's starting it as a task force is a very good idea. Would anyone like to make a motion to recommend this to the RWC board
With the one correction.
with the one correction?
Can I make one other suggestion? And I apologize. I'm just looking at oversee the initiation of data collection and the preparation of draft quarterly reports. So I think, I'm concerned about specifying quarterly.
Okay.
But I don't, I mean, we want some kind of report, but if they don't get started, I'm just worried about quarterly being
Too many?
quite an expectation for a one-year group. But in the long run, maybe you want it to be quarterly, but
Well, I would think that we would want to know that they are actively involved in the task force, even if the report is no decisions have been made or something like that.
oh,
So that
okay,
there's a
so you
regular
just see that
input
as a
of
report
activity.
back. Okay, all
And
right.
I think, didn't we do the same thing under planning? They had a report back from the marketing task force. This would be under when, maybe like at their board meeting, when policy would say something, we would say, is there anything that the KPI task force would like to add? And it would come underneath that piece of it.
Well, I think this was actually where this came up and is stated is meant to be that we would give quarterly reports on the identified KPIs.
Yeah.
So to that point, maybe if we just strike the word quarterly and just put draft reports.
I feel better
They
about
would go
that.
to
Yeah.
planning, finance, or
Yeah.
board.
Okay.
And maybe it is quarterly at
And
the end of
maybe
the
it's-
day, but
yeah.
maybe it's maybe
Annual or
something different.
by whatever.
That
every
could
6
be
months, whatever.
Something determined by the task
Yeah,
force.
right. Thank you.
Okay, so the motion would be to
I can
approve
finish on
it
it.
as amended by replacing residents with members and striking the word quarterly before reports.
Good. And then would quarterly be striked out as well?
Yeah, we just.
There's two
just-
instances of it, yeah.
Yeah, there's two, okay.
Yeah.
So do we need the whole motion on that? I mean, I can do that if we wanted to, not the,
Did you?
or do you
capture
have
that?
it?
Yeah.
Recommended the RWC board approval of the Community Service KPI Task Force
As
Charter
amended.
as amended.
Did you make that
I
motion?
just made that motion.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Can we have a roll call, or not roll call, vote call?
Yes. Hurt,
Yes.
Hildreth,
Yes,
Bentley,
Yes.
votes unanimous.
Having gone through all this, I say that the meeting is ending at 2:12.